Hello, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Game podcast. My name is Arturo, and I will be your host today, covering my guide. Today, I'm very excited to be here with part of Halfbrick Studios team, the legends behind some of my favorite games and creators of the upcoming game Fruit Ninja 2. Jason, Shainiel, thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time to talking to us.
Thank you, Arturo. Hi, it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I had a deja vu. Feels like I've lived this moment already. So, can you please introduce yourselves? What do you do as as professionals? Let's start with maybe you, Jason.
Sure. So I'm Jason. I work at Halfbrick Studios. I got adopted when I was 17.
Okay.
I've since stayed there ever since, which is now 15 years. I'm currently
Wow.
marketing manager slash product manager. So I do some game stuff as well.
Yeah, and I'm Shainiel. I'm the CEO of Halfbrick and one of the original founders way back in 2001. So I've been with the company for 20 years now, and my main focus is actually working on Fruit Ninja 2 as a product manager and just doing everything I can to make sure that we get this game ready for launch.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, can you briefly tell us a bit about the story of Halfbrick? What's the story of the studio? How did you start?
Sure. So as I mentioned, like we've been around for 20 years. Most people don't realize.
Yeah.
But when we started out, we were working on Game Boy Advance, and we were primarily doing games for other publishers. So we worked on well-known IP like SpongeBob and Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Nicktoons, and we did that for I'd say our first 7 or 8 years. And our goal was always to make our own games, and create our own IP. So we started moving onto digital platforms like Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network, and just went through that cycle, game after game, just improving our craft, getting better at what we do. And then mobile came along, and we really rose to some success with games like Fruit Ninja, Jetpack, Age of Zombies, Colossatron, and we're just continuing to try and make the best games we can. When we started this studio, that was one of the major platforms at the time, and we started with 6 people. So we thought that's actually a platform that we can actually make a mark on. So that's where we started, and it was doing paid work for publishers. So we were making games for like SpongeBob and Avatar and a lot of licensed titles, but our ambition was always to be making our own games based on our own IP that we create. So for the first 6 years, we were doing work for other people, but then we started to transition to making our own games. And one game after another, we just honed and refined our craft. And and along the way, we've been fortunate to make games like Fruit Ninja and Jetpack, Age of Zombies, Colossatron, just so many awesome games.
Yeah. No, I don't want you to tell us your age, but I assume that you started the company and started making games when you were like 5-year-old or something, because I remember playing Fruit Ninja. Yeah, I was in college, I believe, or something, and definitely it's great seeing like knowing this story and all that, and it's just great. I will and I like to ask you something about Fruit Ninja 2, right? Because that's the upcoming game. Basically, first, can you share a bit about the story and the gameplay of Fruit Ninja 2?
Fruit Ninja 2 has been a game that's been in the works for quite some time. It's very hard to follow up a game like Fruit Ninja. I mean, where do you go? What do you do? There's so many people that have played the game and they have so many expectations. So it was always daunting for us to make a sequel to that game. But I think where we actually started out was trying to focus more on the multiplayer aspect. And for a long time, that was the core of the game. It was just a multiplayer game. But we realized that so many of our players just love the non-competitive aspect of the game as well. So we built more PvE sort of game modes into that. But Fruit Ninja's been around for a long time, and there've been a lot of updates and variations.
Yeah.
So we wanted to expand from the 3 original modes, Classic, Zen, and Arcade. So we created a whole bunch of mini games and just other takes on fruit slicing that we've either prototyped over the years or have made it into other games. But there is a strong multiplayer component that sits alongside all of that. So we're trying to cater to those players that are more competitive and want to compete and see scores and I guess beat each other at Fruit Ninja, but also allow for those non-competitive players to have a nice, relaxing experience playing a whole host of interesting games.
So now that you're mentioning the players, I would like to ask you, well, 2 things. One is who is like the target audience for Fruit Ninja 2, and also when you design your games, do you think of of this player that you want to appeal to, or you design based on like what the studio wants to do, and then figure out like the market later?
It's definitely the later. We focus on making, I guess, the funnest game experience we can, and for a lot of our time, just trying to come up with new experiences that people haven't had a chance to play before. So the actual with Fruit Ninja and Fruit Ninja 2, it's really tricky because it's such a broad demographic, right?
Yeah.
I always used to say it's for anyone between 3 and 100, male, female, whatever. It just has such wide appeal. So once again, it was really hard to come up with, where do we take this so that we don't alienate such a broad audience, but we still provide, something for everyone.
And Jason, how difficult it is to like to put the game out there to this broad audience. That I also believe that you have like a huge user base already, like waiting for the game, right? Or expecting something from you guys.
Yeah, I guess we just go back to the root design criteria for the game, right? We just something that your parents can play.
Okay, yeah,
that's right. So that was the original brief behind when Fruit Ninja came about, which I can talk about a bit more in detail. But
yeah,
it was design a single screen iPhone game that your mom could play. So that's where it all came from. But yeah, I guess Jason's got the interesting job of trying to market that.
That's what I was going to mention. It's kind of just like it's a product that anyone can play. So you got to not go too childish, but not too adultish. But you just have to find it just right where people go, that looks cool. Like everyone just agrees that looks cool. I guess it's almost like the Marvel movies. Like that's probably the best example you can get. Everyone, that's for everyone. So.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I remember like when I played the original Fruit Ninja. Not sure I was the same demographic as my mom, but I enjoyed it a lot, right? And then you revisit it in like on other platforms that are not necessarily the mobile device, and you still have fun, because one thing that I love about your games is the fact that they are like super easy to pick up, you don't have to follow a tutorial or anything to understand how to play that. And I think that's extremely powerful, especially now in mobile, where, if you start playing something, you have to follow and invest some time in a tutorial first to understand at least like what's going on screen. So, yeah.
Arturo, just on that point about, being so simple to play, at the time when Fruit Ninja came out, touchscreen phones were relatively new still. So our biggest challenge was teaching people how to interact, with the UI for that particular game. So I think our main tutorial was, if we just found people tapping around for a while, we just showed that finger coming down, slicing the play button. And as soon as we did that and someone saw their finger slice the fruit, they just got it straight away. They knew what they had to do.
Yeah, no, and then also I like how well it feels to do that, right? Like how
Hmm.
satisfying it feels with all the effects and the colors
Yep.
and sound and all that thing. It's extremely fun to just do that, even if you are not like doing competitive or anything. It's extremely satisfying to play around with
Hmm.
that. Now, let me take another path and ask you about the tech behind the game, and let's not go that deep into that. But I know that you're using Unity for Fruit Ninja 2. I would like to ask you, like, what's the experience of the development team using Unity? How was it, or how is it?
Sure. So for it's just been an amazing experience because to set the context, Fruit Ninja One was built using our own proprietary engine, and that's served the game for the last 10 years that it's been around. But yeah, but the thing that we've found now is so much more of our development team can actually contribute to the development of of the game using Unity, whereas previously, the tools, the pipelines that we had in our custom engine, just if you were a programmer, you could do whatever you wanted. If you're an artist or someone else that wasn't technical, it was difficult. But now I'm surprised. I'm blown away by what our artists can do and how much they can contribute to the development of the game. So I think overall, if you ask the team, they're way happier using Unity than using our previous engine.
Okay, that's good to know, and I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, even when we're not talking about those details, I it's about like how it worked. Like why back then you didn't choose like another framework or something like that. Why did you start creating your own tech?
Oh, okay. So the question was why we started creating our own tech.
Yeah, yeah. Like in the past, why didn't you
Yeah.
choose any other tool out there? Why did you go
Well,
that way?
when we started,
Yes.
middleware and engines weren't really a thing, right? And particularly where we started on the Game Boy Advance, we had to write
Yeah.
everything ourselves. So once we made that initial investment, as new platforms came about and the industry evolved, we just continued to support our tools and our tech because we were familiar with that. And, it was much later when I guess an engine like Unity came onto the scene. But we were so far invested in our own tech that it was really hard to change, right? But eventually, we just realized we couldn't continue to evolve and support our tech and keep up with the features. We want to make games, right? Jason and I, we love games.
Mm.
That's what we want to do. We don't want to be building tech. So it started out because there were no other options, and then it took some time for us to realize that we couldn't keep competing with the tech that was out there, and Unity was um, a great solution for us to move to.
That's actually a great point what you're saying there, because and this is a good segue for the next question, because the industry today is different from the industry 10 or 12 years ago, right? Like when
Mm-hmm.
the first Fruit Ninja came out. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious about how you see, like when you launch Fruit Ninja 2 versus today when you're about to launch Fruit Ninja 2. Well, when you launch Fruit Ninja and now, what how do you see the industry now? Like how do you tackle releasing a game? How do you see like the stores, which are definitely different? Like the way of monetizing the games is different.
Mm.
What can you tell us about those differences?
I'd say the
Jason?
rapidness. Yeah, the just the speed that people can get games out now is so competitive. If you're trying to develop a game on your own engine, you have to then keep up to date with your engine to be able to release games as fast. Because the way things are now, you have to release within like 6 months. It's like otherwise someone's going to beat you to it because the tools and engines are just so good now. Like people can just do it within a couple of months.
Yeah.
So
And design wise for you guys, is it a different process designing games today of how it was in the past, but particularly on the mobile space, because I understand like consoles are like a different beast, but on the mobile space, do you design differently than how you did in the past?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely different because if you go back 10 years to when Fruit Ninja came out, you know, games were very simple. They were also, the business model was completely different. They were just paid experiences. So you just make the game and very simple experiences, you put it out there. The size constraints and file size limits were much smaller. I remember 10 meg was the max you could have. Your game had to be 10 megabytes. You know, you could count on one hand how many games are probably 10 megabytes on the store today. You know, they're like gigs now.
Yes.
So we had a lot less to play with. We had a lot simpler designs that we were trying to, you know, convey, because also the audience was very new to games on phones back then. But now you look at the business model that's shifted to free to play primarily. And there's a lot of additional work you need to put into the game outside of just making the core experience. So I think design wise, at the core, we're still trying to make a really fun experience, but we can't just stop there. We have to think about, okay, how are we going to monetize this game? How are we going to build in the meta game so that we have really long-term retention? So the complexity of design has just, you know, gone up and up and up as, you know, the ecosystem has evolved.
Yeah, for sure. And I also, and not to put more pressure on you guys, but I think you have a high quality or a high quality bar to top, right? Like
Definitely.
You have to do something way better than what you achieved in the past.
Yep.
So
Yep.
It's exciting.
That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure on the team.
Yeah. And speaking about the team, can you briefly share like how big is the team working for Ninja 2? How do you divide the team? Something like that.
Yeah. So the team size has varied over the course of development, but you know, it's been anywhere from about 6 people up to about, I'd say 14, 15 now, as we're pushing hard to get to release. And, you know, typically it's a mix of programmers, you know, in the early days, one or two artists, designers, producers. We have an audio team that help a lot of games, but, you know, the audio guys are involved quite heavily as well. So they're all in-house as well.
Okay.
And now, like, I think we're at about 14, 15 people. There's probably like 4 programmers and 5 artists on it, and you know, quality assurance. It's probably two designers, 3 designers now, even people helping with the economy side of things. So yeah, as we get further along, you know, the team size has increased, and I think along the way our ambition for the project increased as well. So we needed to get more people involved to help realize, you know, the vision for the game.
Okay. That's pretty cool, because I mean you are a large studio, but still I will consider like very compact, right? Like you optimize the team.
We're very efficient. Yeah, we're
Right.
very efficient.
Right.
We don't have teams of 100 people. No, we're very tight teams.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a bit, and let's talk a bit about like the basically the visual side of the game, because Mike, the host of the show who I'm covering for today, he was curious about like all these effects in the game, particularly on the fruit slicing effect. He wanted to know, like, is that like a frame by frame animation of a pre-rendered fruit getting cut, or is it like a 3D, or how does that work? If you can have some insight into that.
Yeah, it's definitely all 3D. It's all, you know, physics and, you know, simulation, particle effects. Yeah, not frame by frame animation. So from the very start, you know, we decided we wanted to make, as you mentioned before, a really satisfying experience for slicing fruit.
Yeah.
And so we thought, okay, we have to do this in 3D. We have to, use particle effects as well as we can, just to give people that sensation. I actually did cut this fruit with my finger. So yeah, everything's more complicated than underneath the hood than it actually seems, but it helps with giving someone that experience that we were aiming for.
Great. And now on that note, any other tools that you use or that the team uses for like 3D modeling or for project management or anything that you think like it's also key of the development for Halfbrick?
I mean, it's a lot of the usual suspects. So Photoshop, Max, Maya. There's so many 3D tools now, like compared to when I started. I'm always getting this request. We need this tool and this tool and this tool. I go, how many tools do you need to make a 3D model? Yeah, they're using Modo and they're using a whole range of tools, and it's really on the art side. There's a lot there, but a lot of work is done in Photoshop. For project management, we use Jira. We use Jira a lot. A lot of our collaboration happens using Microsoft Teams. That's what we use for, especially now that we're all remote. We're using Teams quite heavily, and then we use Discord as well when we're actually doing reviews with each other. Because before, when we were all in the office, we just roll over to someone's desk and have a look. But now we're using Discord and streaming, someone playing the game to show the latest feature they're working on and give feedback. So, this last 6 months has been an interesting period in terms of adapting our workflows.
Yeah.
And a lot of these tools have become a really important part of how we actually make games now.
I'm curious about like a version control system that you use, like Git or what are you using?
We use Perforce. So we've used Perforce for a long time.
Some people use Git. Some teams actually have started picking up Git and moving towards it a bit. But yeah, majority of our teams are still on Perforce.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because that's one question that people ask, like what we recommend, right? And it really depends on like the pipeline and the internal workflows and all that. But it's great to know like what you guys are using for development.
You'd be recommending Plastic now, right?
I'll be recommending Plastic. Yeah. So actually, now that we're at that, no, yeah. So yeah, now I would like to ask you about some things regarding the mechanics and the gameplay, particularly about the multiplayer mode, what that means, how do you come up with like a multiplayer experience, or how do you design something for a game like Fruit Ninja? I believe you have already tried these in the past, right? In Fruit Ninja 1. But how does it work in Fruit Ninja 2?
So yeah, we've had multiplayer in the game in the past, and actually we added multiplayer to Fruit Ninja 1 when Apple released Game Center. They actually wanted some games that would showcase the multiplayer capabilities of Game Center. So back then it was, one player would get a sequence of fruit, like there's red or blue fruit. Yours is blue, the opponent's is red. There's white fruit that both of you can slice. So this fruit would come up and you'd be slicing yours, avoiding the other players, and trying to get the white fruit before the other player does. And it was score-based. So that was the original.
Yeah.
And it was quite popular. I think maybe 10-15% of our audience were really engaged in that. And, the retention of those players was super, super high. So when we went to look at what we do for Fruit Ninja 2, we wanted to obviously take that experience but evolve it. And what we came up with was sticking to the core, blue fruit, red fruit. You cut blue, don't cut red, and anyone can cut white. But then we added this layer of power-ups on top. So then you had a way, to do offensive moves and defensive moves, depending on what your opponent was doing.
Yeah.
And so you can take 3 power-ups into a match, and out of a collection of 20 or 25, I'm not sure how many there are at the moment. and each one, has certain capabilities that can be counted. So it's that rock paper scissors kind of gameplay going on. So you're trying to amass the highest score, and obviously beat your opponent, but at the same time you're attacking and countering their attacks using your power-ups, and your choice of power-ups and the timing and when to use it is super important, and all within a 60-second match. So it's really intense.
Nice. Now, speaking of power-ups, here's a question for both of you, but I'm gonna ask you, Jason, first. What's your favorite sword in Fruit Ninja 2, or any technique, any advice for people playing?
Ooh, techniques. Two
Or
combos,
just
good.
yeah.
No, focus on combos. If you can work out the patterns and wait for a big combo, then you'll get a better score. I like the lightning blade just because I think it looks the coolest. But yeah, if you can, the trick is not just swiping as fast as you can see. Like when a fruit comes up, it's waiting for a group of fruit to come together and then getting that perfect combo.
What about you, Shainiel?
Yeah, Jason's really good at the game. He probably QA'd that for quite some time. So his advice is good to follow. But I agree. It's about combos, and it's about being patient, like Jason said, and waiting for the groups of fruit to come and then trying to slice the biggest combo you can. The other thing too, which I guess the power-ups introduce, is the timing of the power-ups, because you can amplify the score that you're going to get from slicing a combo if you use the power-up at the right time. And then my favorite blade is the rainbow blade. Just looks so cool.
Awesome. Thank you. That was another question from Mike. Now, another shift of gears regarding the technical challenges for you guys in the development. Is there anything that you would like to share, like something that was a challenge, and how did you solve that? Anything that come to your mind?
Technically, I think getting multiplayer working well was a bit of a challenge in the early days, but thankfully we got that working early, because as I mentioned, the focus was on multiplayer for a long time. So we actually used Photon to help us, the Photon engine, and they've been great partners to work with as well. I'd say the other thing is just with the quality of the graphics that we're trying to push, making sure that it works well across the whole range of devices, particularly when you look at Android and some of the lower spec devices, just making sure that we're not sacrificing the quality for the higher end players, but still making sure the game's playable for the lower end devices. So that meant doing a fair bit of optimization work, both in terms of the graphics and the assets for the lower end devices, and just with our code in general.
I have to say that usually, like, making multiplayer games is hard, right? Like there are so many extra things that you have to consider outside of what you can test, right? Because until you actually have players playing against each other, it's hard to predict like what's going to happen. So it's interesting there, and also on the multiplayer side, what's I assume like Fruit Ninja 2 will be a live game, like will you be having like events, updates, new content? How does the pipeline looks like on that regard?
Yeah, from the start, I really wanted to embrace that, event model, and also the seasons aspect. A lot of games have seasons now, so we will have seasons as well. Nice. And we're working on having regular cadence of events, and that's why we're making a lot of different interesting ways to play the game. Some are mini games, and some are other formats. So we want to have a rich amount of content that players can play, which will keep them interested, and then have that overarching season to play through, where there's new characters that are available. There's new blades, so every season we'll have a new set of blades, new characters, new locations as well, and we want to immerse the player in the world. And so it won't be there for the launch, but probably the second season we will have a storyline interwoven within all of that to just bring it together as a cohesive whole.
It's exciting because and probably you've played some games like these where you see that there will be like literally years of things coming up, right? Like you see like, okay, I'm gonna play Fruit Ninja 2 and I'll have fun for a lot of time from there.
Yeah,
so
that's definitely the plan for us. We're looking, and I keep saying to the team, like, this launch is just the starting line. We'll be there for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, supporting this game and creating more content.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So we're about to wrap up. I would like to ask you a couple of questions. And the next one being like, what is the thing that you feel most proud of in Fruit Ninja 2? What is the thing that you feel like, okay, I feel that we nailed the entire game, but we nailed this particular thing in the game.
Jason, you
sure? Yeah. Okay. I think the new modes. To be honest, there's a bunch of new modes that are actually really exciting. Like, I'm not directly involved in the development process with the team, so when they're like when you hear there's going to be new modes, you kind of think in your head, what could they possibly do? But then I seen the modes and I was blown away. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, these are actually really cool. So I think a lot of people are going to love the new modes.
Sweet.
That's a really good one. I think for me, it's how we've been able to take a game which was very abstract. It's just like there's fruit coming up against the board and you're slicing it, and take the essence of that game and build, a world around it. So the characters that we have, the environments that we have, we're starting to bring the world of Fruitasia to life, with the game this time around. So it's not as abstract. And then you just look at the visuals and it just looks really great. And you can immerse yourself in that experience so much more. That's what I am most happy about.
Yeah, I have also to say that one thing that I love about your IPs is how they, and I'm not sure if this is on purpose or this is just a happy accident, but how you actually create these IPs that make the players engage with them, right? Like make the players remember, like even the fruit. Like I've seen fruit my entire life, but I know when I see a fruit from Fruit Ninja, I know like this is from Fruit Ninja. The same, the characters and all that. So how does that work? Like you start thinking about like these characters and these, or is something that just happens through the development? I'm curious about that.
I think we just we do a lot of concepting to figure out what one works best, but a lot of it just comes down from just we're really passionate. So when we come up with stuff, we really just try and create stuff that we love ourselves, which helps portray everything to everyone else when they see it, because they're like, oh my god, I love this as well. So I think we're just naturally gifted, I guess.
That's true, but we put our heart and soul into these characters and these things we create, right? We're super passionate about it, as Jason said. And I think the other thing is we don't take ourselves seriously, right? We don't take ourselves too seriously. So what that means is it liberates us to come up with these characters that are outside the box and a little bit quirky, a little bit different, and imbued with humor and character. And then, people identify with that and relate to that.
Yeah, and you like I can tell that you're passionate about what you do. I can tell that you love what you work on, and yeah, the product it speaks up for itself, which is great. And yeah, I'm happy to be honored of talking with you guys here today. So, two extra questions. One is, where can people expect Fruit Ninja 2? On which platforms?
Yeah, sure. iOS and Google. So they'll both be available on just mobile devices. And we're still on track with the release.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
You're just checking. You just check before actually saying that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's more in Shainiel's head on how things turn out with that, but yeah.
I've got both fingers crossed. Don't worry.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna make it.
And the last question is like, what's next for Halfbrick? Of course, supporting the game, launching the game, but is there anything else that you can share that you're working on or something on that regard?
Well, I want to hear what J Money thinks first. Jason, you go first.
Of what we're working on next.
Yeah.
If you can share that, of course. If
Yeah, I
not,
was just
then...
testing him out if he'd reveal our secrets or not.
Okay, you passed. This was just a test for you, Jason.
Like from my point of view, obviously, like you mentioned, we're going to support these games, but we are working on some new games, which will excite a lot of our fans. Some of them are, once again, based on some really popular IP that we have. But one of the other things that we've been hearing for the last 2 years, since we took a lot of our older games off the store, so games like Age of Zombies, Monster Dash, Colossatron. So there's a lot of demand from our fans to bring these games back. So that's one of the things that we've been doing. We recently brought Monster Dash back.
Every time we post something or release any information, we just get bombarded with just like, give us Age of Zombies, give us Colossatron. Like, no, they don't care about what else just came out. They just every time.
Yeah, I'm not going to use this space to fanboy about my favorite IP of yours, but I'm excited about what you're just saying because I spent a lot of my college time playing your stuff. So I graduated, but if I didn't, then it will have been because of you guys. I remember playing not on an iPhone, playing on an iPod back when iPods were a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Super cool. So yeah, that's all I had. Before wrapping up and before saying thank you again, is there anything that you would like to tell people, like players or other game developers that are listening to you guys? Any advice? Anything that you want to share?
Give Unity a try.
Thank you.
You won't regret it. Definitely, you definitely won't regret it. Yeah, and I think just be persistent with your games and the craft, and just be true to what it is you want to realize, and make sure you put the heart and soul into the games. That's it.
Yeah, that's a great advice, and I think when people when we hear advice from successful people, from people that you can tell that they are passionate about what they're doing, it's more valuable. So I appreciate that. And well, again, thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much, Shainiel. I hope you have fun. I really wish you the best of luck with the release. And thank you everyone for watching us, for listening to us, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.